importance of circular economy and supply chain management, global supply chain management. So today we have with us, today the topic of our discussion will be circular economy and innovation. How can businesses and startups leverage circularity to drive innovation and growth? This webinar series is designed to unite groundbreaking processes, ideas, solutions, and the widespread dissemination of knowledge. We are happy to conduct this series in collaboration with the PM Gati Shakti School Center of Excellence in Logistics and Supply Chain Management, School of Management, Doon University. A gentle reminder to all participants to kindly keep their microphones muted and videos off and utilize the chat box for any communication. Only the speakers and the moderator can keep their cameras on. Now, I would like to welcome our distinguished guest speakers for today's discussion. Our first speaker of the day is Dr. Manish Kumar, Director R&D, Center for Environment and Energy Development, SEED, India. Dr. Manish leads the interdisciplinary research on ambient air quality, energy transition, and climate change issues in India and South Asia. Dr. Kumar has completed his postdoctoral research on air pollution in India and the potential for air quality improvement using science and sustainability applications jointly with the Stockholm Resilience Center and the Stockholm University, Sweden. Dr. Kumar has also served as a visiting scientist at the Max Planck Institute for Chemistry, Germany. He has published more than 30 peer-reviewed articles in various national and international journals. Welcome, Dr. Manish. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you, Surabhi.
Our second guest speaker is Julie Chrysler. She is a social business strategist at Yunus Environment Hub, Barcelona, Spain. Julie is passionate about social innovation and supporting entrepreneurs to build scalable, circular, and inclusive business models. She has over 15 years of expertise in designing and implementing comprehensive programs that enable founders to maximize impact and growth. Her experience ranges from work in multinationals like SAP, where she led global operations for the 1 Billion Lives Intrapreneurship Program for employees to develop their social impact business ideas into new products, to her current role in Yunus Environment Hub, where she is leading the Circular Rise Accelerator Program, supporting growth stage social businesses to transition from linear to circular business models. Then we have our third speaker of the day. She is Aditi Agarwal, AVP Go Revise. Aditi is a gold medalist in computer science engineering and an MBA from HEC Paris. After spending a decade in technology with Microsoft in US and India, she followed her heart to build for pro-planet solutions and systems. She is now building Go Revise, a brand that believes in recycling wisely and collects close to 10 billion plastic bottles every year and gives them new lives, creating a system where materials are not thrown away but recirculated again and again in a loop. As the AVP and founding member at Go Revise, she leverages her experience in business, strategy, and technology to create a circular economy, helping global FMCG brands and consumers make conscious and circular choices. Please excuse me for a minute. Our final and the fourth speaker is Gurashish Singh Sahani, co-founder and COO eCircle. Gurashish has led the strategic direction for sales, business development, and operations at eCircle and driven operations to fulfill extended producer responsibility obligations for companies such as HUL, Dabur, Marico, UNDP India, and Tata Starbucks. Till now, eCircle has diverted over 1 lakh plus metric ton weight of waste from landfills and our oceans across 270 cities. I'm sorry, I'll have to hand this session to Dr. Sudhanshu to carry out the question and answer session.
Yeah, sure. So please do take care of please take care of yourself. Thank you, and let me proceed and let's wish Surbhi to have a fast recovery. And let us, accelerate the session. And we have with us very prominent, panelists today. And let me start the session with Julie. Julie, I hope I'm very clearly audible to you. Can we start with you?
Sure. Sorry, just getting myself off mute.
All right. So let me start with a question. And the question is, okay, right. So let me start with the question, and the question is related to your, experience as a person who actually involved into a lot many of circularity and inclusion models. And when it comes to aligning circular and inclusive models with the environmental impact and the growth. So uh, we wish to know through your success stories, lot many of intervention you already did. So how the business effectively incorporate circularity and inclusion model so that the sustainability perspective will not get disturbed. So out of your experience, let us have this. Let us start the discussion from you. Out of the experience you have,
Okay.
yeah, please.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you so much for the invitation and to participate in this session today. Looking forward to the perspectives from the different speakers. First, I would say, so I come from actually a background working in technology education. So before shifting into the work with entrepreneurship, been working for quite a long time also in the education field. So I do feel both in that previous experience as well as in my current experience, I feel that businesses really need a strong foundation to work from. So through training and supports, we can help them then to transition from linear to circular models. So all of you who are here and that are founders, we know that you are very busy people. So I think having an opportunity to take business leaders away from their day-to-day activities and into a training program where they can dedicate their time to actually look into those solutions or those those circular strategies is really important to be able to take the time to make that strategic approach. So I would say we need to upskill business owners in circular literacy before they can take action. So if you don't understand the circular business models, if you don't know what it means to be product as a service or to have a sharing and leasing model, there's no way that you'll be able to implement that. So I think as a first, as a first step and as an introduction, I would say that's extremely important. And then we need to help the founders to connect the circular models with financial sustainability. So to understand from a business perspective, how will this circular model benefit my business and help towards that triple bottom line? So ensuring that the focus is environmental, it's also social, but it's also helping that business to then be convinced, right, to take those actions. So maybe just from the Unis Environment Hub perspective and some of the work that we've been doing to make a more practical experience. So we ran our Circularize Accelerator. We launched it in Kenya last year, and we worked with 25 social businesses on the ground to help them to turn their businesses from linear to circular. So this was in reaction to the COVID pandemic, and it was funded by GIZ as a way to make these businesses greener and more resilient to future climate emergencies. So basically what we did is we created a training program that had several different elements to it. So training and coaching, as well as master classes, peer-to-peer exchanges that help them I'm hearing myself in an echo. Not sure. Okay, maybe that's it. Thank you. That helped them to really identify where is there an opportunity. So we started with needs assessments, understanding where do we have those inefficiencies to identify opportunities, before diving in blindly, before just coming up with a solution before actually knowing what the problem is that we're trying to solve. And so then we help them to develop a circular pilot to then pitch for funding to be able to then implement that at scale. So I wanted to give a few examples of kind of a few of the businesses that we worked with, which I thought might be interesting. One thing that I also found quite interesting, and I'm sure is the case as well in India, is that a lot of these businesses were already circular, but didn't necessarily know that. So it was also awareness around, understanding the business models. How can you take a better grasp of that to understand how to take it even further, how to scale that existing model? So for example, we worked with a company called Bottle Logistics, who are also based out of Kenya. They're based in Nairobi. And they were already a circular business because they were recycling glass cutlets and also had a returnable bottle system, like for uses in the beverage industry. So through the work that we did with them, we identified an inefficiency in like the water resource usage. So the way that they were washing the bottles was not using the water in an efficient way. So they basically found an opportunity to pilot a system where they could have an automated washing system. Thereby, they could then reduce the water resource, right? They could use it in a more efficient way, which would then help them to save on costs, right? So through these cost savings, right, if they're able to move forward with this implementation through the cost savings, then obviously they can hire more people, they can fill more demand, they can increase the waste diverted from landfill, they can improve on their CO2 emissions and create new jobs for the community. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole new business product or solution. It can also be efficiencies in the operating systems. And then one more example. So businesses can find new revenue streams through, for example, their packaging system and reducing single-use plastics, for example, to returnable systems that also allow for small purchases. So enabling low-income communities access to essentials like milk and oil and things like that. So again, looking for these models that are inclusive and circular from the start. And so we worked with companies like Rafiki Pay, who process oils like sunflower oil, and to help them to scale their refill models. So they have these ATM systems that they have in different communities. So helping them to be able to scale that impact into more communities. So since then, we've basically taken this accelerator cohort. We've also expanded to Germany, where we supported social businesses that were already circular to enable them to scale. And then now we're also creating this into an online training format that combines the social plus the circular elements to help even individuals within businesses to identify opportunities within their own organizations to take action for more circular solutions.
Very interesting. Yeah. So let us take our next question to Aditi. Aditi, as a technology professional, and you being a person who moved from technological from the blue to green solutions. How did you your background as a technology professional is helping you to approach towards building circularity in the present assignment you have with Go Revise?
Yeah. Thank you, Sudhanshu. Very interesting question. And a lot of people ask me this question. Probably it has now become the most interesting fact about me, that I left the Gen AI world and the possibility of singularity, and I am contributing my effort, time, and whatever value I can create to circularity. So I actually draw a lot of parallels from the technology industry to the whole circularity ecosystem that we are now developing. What digital was 20 years ago, green, circularity, sustainability, everything is now really getting into that space. And there are three clear reasons in my mind to say that. One in itself is how the systems and ecosystem is developing. 20 years back, actually, after the whole .com boom went away, people started looking at what does internet and mean? How can businesses create value out of internet? And that is exactly what we are doing today. Sustainability is not just about consumers being activists. Now businesses are also getting into this and really thinking from ground up, from design to execution, what can they now do differently that will really serve their customers while doing good for the planet. And it has a very clear business reason for that, because if they don't do it today, their businesses are not going to survive. Right? For a company that I come from, Microsoft, Microsoft has survived for decades because continuously we were innovating and trying to figure out what is the next things and how do I solve for that next thing. And that is the core value of a business that is, planning a future and is really trying to survive in the future as well. So I would state that as the first reason. The second thing why I draw parallels from technology to the sustainability field is also we are now trying to solve for inefficiencies. So what did digital do and why digital became so big that it is absolutely ingrained into every part of our life? Even this uh, conversation that we are having is only possible because of digitization. So again, there were lots of inefficiencies. There were, things that could have been done better and differently. And that's the same thing now. I work in the recycled plastic space. So what we do is we get the PET bottles collected, the water bottle, etc., packaging, etc. We get that collected and we recycle them. And now we are until now the technology did not exist, so we were downcycling all of that plastic to create into textile fibers, yarns, etc. But now we are actually upcycling that waste to really make a bottle out of it again. And if you can really optimize for that inefficiency and keep that loop running for as close as to, even 9 to 10 times, that is good enough. That is almost like close to infinity times you can keep using that same material again and again. So that is, another parallel that I draw from the technology industry. And the third thing that I would say is, which personally I think I am benefiting a lot from, is very similar business models. Especially with Microsoft, with the kind of values that we used to operate as and how we ran the business, we were all about making others cool. We were all about creating platforms so that other people can build businesses out of it and create value out of it. And that's exactly what we are doing at Go Revise. We are recycling the plastic to make the new raw material, which is almost like creating a new category of material. It looks like virgin plastic, it feels like virgin plastic, it has all the properties of virgin plastic, but still, this material would not have existed if we wouldn't have come in. And now we are letting everybody else in the market really utilize that material and then give it back to us so that we can again create a circular loop out of it. So I think that is, some of the parallels that I draw from the industry.
Oh, that's nice. Great examples you have mentioned and great practices you guys are doing. So let us, thank you. Let us move the discussion to Gurashish ji. Gurashish, being with Recycle, which is into a lot of interventions, especially when it comes to innovative ways of waste management and recycling. Can you quote some specific examples where a lot of inspiration can be drawn? I mean, the set of panelists we have today, they are like great practitioners. So recycling, as I was studying about the company, I got to know a lot of best practices you are doing. Can you please let the audience also aware about what kind of practices Recycle is doing as a company when it comes to waste disposal and innovative way of recycling solutions?
Right. Thank you. So that should recircle first, not recycle. And yeah, so I mean, what I would say is we here at Recircle really have seen waste as an opportunity. And what we've also realized in the way we really actually work is that we work closely with all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. So we're not really trying to reinvent anything, but just organize, an existing ecosystem of consumers, collectors, processors, informal workers, and businesses to all come together closely and create a more meaningful impact, you know, um, a meaningful impact towards circularity. So when we talk about now, let me just pick up one segment as it is. So we empower consumers to divert waste away from landfill and oceans by participating in our on ground community events that we do on a monthly basis. So things like monthly waste collection drives from people's houses, or it may be large scale events such as one of the examples I could give you was that we were the official waste management consultants for the for the ICCE Men's World Cup at Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, which was also like one of the largest stadium in the world. So alongside with United Way. So here, with activities like this, we empower consumers and we educate consumers really to be able to to segregate the waste, because that's like the main basic um uh, thing that is required for any effective waste management to happen. Then when we talk about your waste collectors and collection partners, we like to call them Safai Sathis. So we work with over 270 plus collection partners across 270 plus collection partners across India. These are on a pan India basis, and here, the existing waste collectors or Safai Sathis, uh, in a formalized manner, work with us to collect, this waste. Then coming down to brands, we work with brands such as, your Hindustan Coca-Cola beverages, Mondelez, Starbucks, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and others like this. To have them offset their plastic footprint, right, by expanded producer responsibility, which is a government compliance, and we help them fulfill this, and they can divert their offset their plastic usage with us. And very soon we are getting into use of recycled granules into the supply chains of these companies. So these are some of the things we're doing, and to top this all, we've built Clima One, which is a multi-stakeholder tech-enabled platform to address the challenge of a transparency and accountability, which we feel is very very important in the entire waste management ecosystem. Because what we have seen is, uh, more often than not, a lot of companies are doing the work but are being blamed for greenwashing. So we get all these stakeholders together and using Clima One, our in-house platform, we bundle them all up and ensure that brands don't need to be suspected of greenwashing. So that's mainly what we do.
Yeah, that's great, Gurashiji. And Recycle is doing great in terms of the intervention when it comes to putting up recycling from the wastelands. That's really great. And apologies for calling it recycle. It's recircle. We have with us Dr. Manish, who is a great researcher and being an extensive, researcher in the area of air quality. Sir, during the research, you have witnessed a lot of, best practices, a few challenges also, and lot many of opportunities for the businesses when it comes to improving the quality of the air in India and the rest of the world, especially when it comes to south of Asian subcontinent. So, sir, can you please explain us more on the research you carried out and how the air quality has been measured and what are the standard and benchmark versions of research you come out with?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you, Sudhanshu and Surabhi, for inviting me for this interesting discussion. Although, when we think about circularity or circular economy, we mostly see the entire thing from waste management point of view, whether it is plastic or anything. But when we do the value chain modeling for any process, for example, any agricultural activity, transport related activity, industrial activity. So when we look at the individual units of the value chain, then every single process is somehow related to some kind of emissions, whether it is greenhouse gases emissions or air pollutant emissions. So this is this is the place where we see the scope of circularity or circular economy for air quality management. So businesses have definitely, I mean, they have to play a major role in that, and those things can be for a region like South Asia or the Indian subcontinent, where majority of the countries are still developing. We need to identify the individual units of the value chain which are polluting in nature or which are not updated according to the requirements of air quality standards or something like that. So, as far as the implementation of exact policies or because eventually when we think about air quality, we are actually trying to reduce the exposure on health, on agricultural activities through a number of interventions. So there are certain challenges, and I mean, although there are different mandates, there are different compliances which industries, specifically the larger industries or smaller businesses, they are following as per the pollution control board mandates. But a big challenge what I foresee is the interlinkages between the compliance regulation and the basically the money or the investment which is required to uh, for a transition from less cleaner technologies to more cleaner technology. So this is one of the challenges for developing countries, especially in India and some of the states which are heavily industrialized. For example, I work with the government of Jharkhand and government of UP. So these states are having a lot of resources, but in order to have a transition from unclean technology, we can say, to a cleaner technology. Compliances are definitely, rules and regulations are definitely very good, well structured. But yeah, the challenges are to bring more investments for adopting to the new technologies. So here, smaller businesses or larger businesses, they can collaborate with the government, they can collaborate with the academic or research institutes where, indigenous technologies can be adopted for cost cutting or for so that they can be fit to the localized context or localized needs of the individual units of the value chain. So this is how contribute to circularity, targeting air quality in India.
Many thanks. You really have an understanding about air quality and how to measure it, and how it's becoming so important in the days when the companies are moving from, circularity from the linear economy. So a similar, and with a similar understanding about research and development you spoke about, let us take our next question to Gurashish about, how the industrial ecosystem functionally supporting each other when it comes to extended producer responsibility. So, in Recircle, we are witnessing that the companies are collaborating with a lot many multinational companies which are into uh, bottling business, or maybe the companies which are into FMCG establishments, or maybe into some fast food interventions. How a Recircle is taking up this challenge when it comes to extended producer responsibilities and the obligation related in the as the part of the, you know state related norms. So how you taking care of the challenges while you're implementing EPR activities across?
Thank you for that question, Sudhanshu. So when in specific to extended producer responsibility, when we work with brands, we work on, I would say, three main areas. So, like most of the brands are unaware of, what is to be done as per the plastic waste management policy, how is it to be done. So, number one, we start off with consulting in terms of what should be the extended EPR footprint, how do you get your companies registered, and clarifying, so it really our work starts with being advisors and consultants to these brands to be able to get them registered firstly, and on the entire extended producer responsibility journey. Moving forward, we have them collect this waste on a pan-India basis, even though now the norms talk about, it being geography neutral and material to be collected from anywhere in India. But many a times we see a big disparity between, state pollution control boards and what the pollution control board is talking. Which again is fair, I would say, because I mean the states say that if you are polluting in our particular state, then you rather clean our state as well than just, pick up waste from the low hanging fruits or the easier territories. So depending on how the brand wants it to be done, we do collections for them on a pan-India basis and send it to authorized recyclers. Like I was saying, this entire system, so we have collection partners at one level, brand owners at the other. collection partners, recyclers or waste processors, and brand owners. These are our three main stakeholders, with Recircle being in the middle. So all of this is connected with Climber One, our traceability platform, where the collection partner on real-time basis puts information on what is the type of material, what is the quantity of material, and where it is moving from, which then goes to and which with the data which is then sent to the recyclers on real time basis, so they have a clear visibility of what is the material that is coming to them, and as soon as the material reaches, they acknowledge the receipt of the same vehicle on their dashboard. And once after processing this material, it is converted into credits and given back to the brand owners. Brand owners have a clear visibility of the entire system on real-time basis. So that's really, I mean, like I was saying last also, they have often been, suspected of greenwashing, of work not happening. That's really where we come in the middle and have them out. And now with the policy changing and use of ethically recycled content becoming mandatory in bottles, we're now working with packaging departments and R&D departments of these same brands that we work with to be able to provide good, high quality, post-consumer recycled content to them.
Correct. So Gurashi spoke about how extended producer responsibility as an ecosystem is being developed by Recircle, and let us take more discussion on this from a different viewpoint when it comes to technology interventions. And since Aditi visits, and let us ask her how business models that Go Revise is involved into for viewpoints, how effectively business models are streamlining the technologies, which means how your business model blueprints are helping technological intensive companies to do green services in their operations. So, what's your opinion on this, Aditi?
Yeah. Again, very interesting question, Sudhanshu, and good that we are going after Guru Ashish. So let me build up on his answer itself while explaining what are the new technologies and how this whole ecosystem is developing with the help of different kinds of technologies. So like Guru Ashish was explaining that they are creating Climber One as this one single platform, which is also a tech platform, where every stakeholder in the waste management, or rather the circular value chain, forward value chain, we all know, right? That was the take, make, waste. But when we are talking about this whole reverse value chain, this is where actually technology is coming in. Technology that is creating traceability for all the stakeholders, like Climber One. Technologies that recyclers like us are bringing in. So we are also one of the partners with Recircle, and we would be, when they send us the waste, we acknowledge getting that waste and we put it into a recycling mechanisms. Now for us also, technology becomes extremely important. I'll give you another example to explain it further. When we talk about PET and plastic, we know that plastic could harm human health as well. And especially, in a country like India, where we are producing 13 million metric tons of plastic, almost 60% of it is recycled today. But till now, none of that was put back into your food grade applications. Food grade applications are actually those bottles from which you drink water, you drink your soft drinks, other kinds of beverages, and other kinds of even, your food comes in a lot of PET packaging. This is all going to touch your food. And if any amount of decontamination is left in those kinds of materials, it could directly harm your health. So, as a recycler, it becomes a huge responsibility for us to ensuring that we could deliver a food grade material to you. And it is not just us who are taking care of it. There are multiple audit bodies, and we have regular third party audits to ensure that our facilities, our material, our technology, everything is top grade. If you ever visit our facilities, you will see that the tech and the cleanliness there would be better than any of the, even the food factories that you would visit at. So talking about technology, when I talk about this, creating this food grade, and Guru Ashish also mentioned that government is coming up with a law that regulation that there's a percentage of recycled content that need to be put back into every packaging material. For the year 25-26, it's 30%. But in the next 5 years, it is going to go to 60% recycled content. That is a total flip of the current supply chain that all the brand owners are working with. And for that, we need to bring in that technology, and we need to scale that technology to ensure that the regulation is being met, while ensuring that the safety concerns, that 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 material that we are producing and giving it to the brand owners is safe for you as consumers, as human beings. We use a 21-step decontamination process for every post-consumer waste that comes to our factory. And the main process and focus is on different kinds of washing and decontamination processes. While on the other hand, we have literally, spent crores in setting up a quality check lab, and we put all of those data online real time for our brand owners, for our global FMCG consumers, to not just audit, but also know what material is being produced, what quality it had, from different properties, because anyways it's a recycled plastic, right? From what kind of, how much food grade material came into a factory to how much non-food grade material came into a factory, what was the yield, what was the properties, and there are multiple properties that a polymer is judged on. So that real-time access and creating a platform that gives real-time access to these brand owners is also, again, a huge technological improvement that has happened only in the recent past. And when I talk about technology, there's so much to be done. And I'm really glad to be in this space right now, because this whole ecosystem needs so many other businesses to come up, so many other startups need to come up to solve for traceability even further, to solve for, how do you communicate to the consumer, to solve for how do we, ensure that the whole informal supply chain, how we get food stock, what Guru Ashish is also doing, they're trying to formalize that informal value chain. But there's so much work still to be done.
This is true, actually, but the experiences are, enriching in terms of more and more robustness in the systems, and things are getting, more foolproof.
Yeah.
And the whole economy and the set of economies are moving towards circularity in a greater sense.
Yeah.
But yes, rightly said by Aditi and Gurashish. But one set of industry is more on, cultivating social, grassroots organizations, we call them, which are into social entrepreneurial activities, social businesses. And we have a social researcher and social practitioner, Julie, with us. Julie, as per your opinion, while you're working with UNIS and in Environmental Hub, what do you think that the companies which are into social businesses, how they perceive the concept of transformation from linear to circular economy, and what sort of challenges they are facing, what sort of operation challenges they are facing, what sort of techniques they have to co-opt, and what are the organization challenges they oftenly come across while they are setting their goals for moving from linear to circular economy.
Yeah, perfect. No, good, very good question. And also, I just want to make a comment back on the, I think the air pollution and the health are both really interesting, especially as we're working towards a just transition for these holistic and inclusive models. It's not just, like, I think we just to make sure that businesses aren't just looking at, like, how is my business circular, but what is that greater impact? Because there is human rights elements like a right to a healthy and clean environment, a right to healthy food, like all of these things we need to consider as well. It's not just what is my business doing, but how does it have that systemic impact on a broader scale. So I really like these interventions. I think they're great. It's also looking at the informal sector, like how do you also ensure decent work for them? So I think that all of these pieces come together in a much larger conversation, and it's nice to have all these pieces put together in the session, which I know is very short to go into everything. So maybe just quickly looking at some of the challenges. I know there's a lot. I just want to highlight a few. Obviously, there's the basic challenge, which is always access to funding, right? So how do I get funding to implement my solution? So I think it's really important that businesses know how to measure the impact. And again, you need to look at profitability, you need to look at that financial sustainability, as well as the social and environmental impact. So what is that holistic impact? And then how do I communicate that? So I think training on impact measurement measures, like how do they have that awareness to be able to communicate then to investors? There's also, like, I just want to mention a study that we did recently in Bangalore with Climate Kick, because there is an interest, I think, also for investment. And we basically outlined a circularity ecosystem in waste management to identify opportunities where Climate Kick could invest to support startups in waste management. So what were those waste streams that were inorganic or organic that were the most important? What are those stakeholders that are in the ecosystem, the multinationals, the accelerators, the academia, what are the innovations, and to map that out to help them to make a strategic investment to help those startups in a sector. So we are seeing obviously an interest, but it needs to be much more, I think we need more investment to go on. So I think, how do you overcome that? I think funders and accelerators can work more closely together. So I think if you can ensure an alignment on expectations from funders when you're working with those businesses in an accelerator, then they're more likely to achieve the investment. So we try to do this in our Circularize program to make that matching, to say, okay, who is going to fund a social business? Because also in the social business principles, businesses reinvest their profit within their business to have a greater impact. So not all funders want to invest in that type of business. So how do you get those right funding? In the future, the funder said, hey, we want to actually be involved in the beginning to understand what it is your businesses are looking towards, to then also guide them on what kind of information I need to validate my funding requirements, right? So I think having that matchmaking earlier on is a big opportunity for success on both sides, right? The funders have a better investment, and the startups or the scaled growth stage businesses have a better opportunity to secure the funding. I also think funding like idea stage businesses as well, like how do we get more businesses to become circular? So obviously there's all of these businesses that already exist that need to become more circular, but how do you already ingrain that circularity from the beginning? Because it's easier to build something from scratch, right, than to try and transition something that already exists. And then again, I think this ongoing support is needed for businesses to overcome this funding gap. Just to kind of go quickly, because I know we still have quite a few questions left. I think behavior change is super important for, and this came up in the Climate Kick study, like how, if I'm proposing a solution that's saying segregation in the household, but the households aren't taking action to segregate, then my business isn't going to be successful as no one is using my app or my whatever my solution is. So how do you ensure behavior change? And this needs to come on a collaborative level. So governments, communities, businesses need to work together. We need to have policies in place. I mean, EPR is a good example for businesses, but how do we ensure that people on an individual level are adopting these new circular models? Like, how do we go back to what our grandparents were doing in the reuse system, right? They used the same glass container. They didn't have this like take waste maze, like disposable sort of convenience. How do we get away from that? And that's going to take time and efforts from, I think, everyone, but it's really important if we want these businesses to be successful, I think, going forward. And I think shifting behavior, like what can we do in early education to raise awareness and to create, like to prepare the future generations with the mindset from the start, I think is really important. So like, it's almost like if you look at, we need recycling, but if we were able to design out waste in the beginning, we wouldn't have that issue. So if we can educate early on, maybe we won't have the challenge like later on. So I was kind of like associating those two areas there. And then finally, I think they need support on storytelling. Like people need to tell the story that they're circular. Like how do we go circular? This helps with the funding aspect. I think it's a challenge that businesses have. Like how do I show my competitive advantage? How do I promote my circular solution to get that adoption and to get people to want to buy my solution versus a solution that isn't circular? So solid metrics, I think, and the communication are really key. And then one other thing that I think that has been helpful in my experience with businesses is to build a community of best practice. and how to overcome challenges like camaraderie between founders within an ecosystem, along a value chain, peer-to-peer learnings. Like we had participants in our program that were even delivering their own masterclasses on, hey, I've done a crowdfunding campaign, this is my experience. I think having those ecosystems of learning so we don't recreate the wheel is super important as well to try and overcome challenges that businesses face.
So this is all. Let us take the research and development perspective of the story, because we have with us Dr. Kumar, and being a researcher and being a very senior researcher with the Center for Environment and Energy Development. I have a question with you, sir. The question is, how the ecosystem between research and development institution and the business organizations, when it comes to uh, energy transition and climate change issues, uh, are being taken care, and the role of such institutions like the institution you belong, the Center for Environment and Energy and Development, play a role, and how the findings, she was also talking about, Julie was talking about the success stories, and the dialogue should be uh, shared with the stakeholders. So what is the passage of converting the research findings as a public document, so that more and more stakeholders get benefit, and the whole set of generation will be able to cope and move in the process of transiting from linear to circular economy. So what is your opinion and understanding about the role of such institutions?
So, if I talk about my own organization and organizations of similar kind, so we are a leading think tank in the this geography where which is mineral rich, rich in coal and different types of minerals, which make the foundation of Indian energy system and Indian infrastructure system. So we try to create a synergistic impact that accelerates the energy transition, or we can say localized climate actions through energy transition, or whatever processes we use. And while working on all these things, we try to promote sustainable development goals or activities, including the community in particular, as Julie was mentioning about the just transition, or just climate actions. So we are also engaging with businesses, various types of businesses, because we are working in Jharkhand, and Jharkhand is home to many larger industries. So we are engaging with businesses, and we try to drive systematic changes in their activities, for example, we try to help industries in association with their different mandates with the government, which they have to fulfill every month or annually. So, if we talk about some specific approaches, for example, we in Seed, we are trying to create a market through different types of pilot projects. For example, for clean energy, which is one of the most burning issues, not only in India and Jharkhand, but in the entire world. So basically, we work on developing markets for clean energy by connecting businesses with clean technology providers, or facilitating the pilot projects in different regions. For example, on the deployment of solar energy, or the deployment of any kind of renewable energy through assessment of renewable energy potential. And we try to connect the entire process with the governance system as well as with the community through engagement and dialogue process. And so this dialogue process is not just limited to the government departments, it is actually connected with the community and the businesses as well. And the mechanism could be anything like roundtables, workshops, conferences. And we, throughout the year, based on different types of issues which are related to the community, which are related to the farmers, which are related to the industries, wherever we find the scope for circularity. Similarly, we have a very strong collaboration with the government, We are the technical partner of the state of Jharkhand for the Pollution Control Board and also for the Forest Department, which are taking care of majority of issues which are related to pollution or which are related to waste management or something like that. So basically, the just like another think tank, which first do some ground research and then they try to enable the entire system by the outcome of research, and the overall goal is to support the community, not just in for their help and not just for the solution, but also to support the community to accommodate or adapt to the new changes, be it circular economy or energy transition.
Dr. Sudhanshu, thanks, Dr. Manish, for the answer. Dr. Sudhanshu, are you there?
Yeah, I'm very well here. Yeah. There was a kind of internet issue here. So, very nicely elaborated by Manish ji, and he spoke about a lot of intervention that the R&D institutions are doing. Really, great to get the information from him. So let us continue the discussion with Gurashish, and Gurashish being the person, he is managing a Recircle, and Recircle being very much resource resource management based organization. I wish to know more about how the resource recovery workers, because a lot of discussions are going on these days about how that the recovery workers are being exploited by the companies, and working conditions are always challenging. So the and the organizations like Recircle, as I was seeing in the website also, are also giving efforts, and a lot of insights they are coming up with to improve the quality of conditions and recognition of the workers which are intensively involved into resource mining and recovery process. So can you let us know more about how Recircle is managing the show, and how they are helping the workers to cope with the situations and better lives?
Thank you for that question. Firstly, I would like to start with, like I said before, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're already using existing Safai Sathis or waste workers, right? We're building something here that adds value to these people's daily lives of our employees and Safai Sathis. So let's just get into a little bit let me just give you an estimate. So in India, there is an estimate with via a study that there are approximately over 4 million people who are into the waste management or scavenging space, Um, what we have seen more often than now, before, was that these people were never um, recognized in any way. It is a shadow supply chain. This is the shadow supply chain because of which whatever recycling and reprocessing is happening is going on in India. So when we started Recircle, one of the main things was dignity of the workers that work with us. So we mainly focus on three areas. One is access to good quality healthcare. Second is access to government schemes, and third is financial literacy, right? So when we talk about access to healthcare, all the waste collectors that work with us go through regular medical checkups. That's once in 6 months. Government schemes, I mean, there are so many government schemes that are existing predominantly in the country, but no one has really gone ahead and explain to them or got them enrolled into these schemes. So schemes like e-Shram cards, your Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, your insurance schemes, things like that. So these are schemes that we actually enroll all the Safai Sathis that work directly with us or indirectly via a collection partner network. And finally we feel financial literacy is one of the very, very important things, because when we got into this, what we realized was people were not paying, they were not filing returns. Uh, the informal economy most of the times is picking up loans that anywhere between 2% to 5% a month, which is just criminal. So that's some of the things that we did in terms of in terms of the work that we've done with the Safai Sathis. And through an independent survey that was conducted, I'm very, happy to tell you that 90% people that are working with Recircle reported increase in confidence after joining Recircle. 72% of them said that their understanding on plastic recycling increased. 50% strongly agreed that they are learning relevant skills and opportunities. And the good number that we really found was that over 90% of the people now feel that they receive fair wages, good working conditions, and honor and dignity to do the work that they are doing. Right. So these are some of the interventions we've done directly or indirectly with the Safai Sathis that work with us in our own facilities or in our collection partner facilities. And obviously, apart from this, the basics of having, ensuring that there is PPE kits being used, gloves, masks, shoes. I mean, all of that I believe is something that should have always been there. So I never like to talk about it because I think that is bare basic. But apart from that, yes, access to financial literacy, healthcare schemes, and government schemes is what we need.
So correct. Welfare of the employees and the workers should not be compromised. Rightly said by you. Let us take the ecosystem again, and let us move to Aditi for discussing more on her experience with Revise and her understanding about as a part of the ecosystem when you interact with multinational companies which are non-Indian country by origin, and they have the standards probably established by some Western world. And these companies are very, focused. And when it comes to making circular choices, they have a clear-cut, standards to be followed. So I'm not naming the companies, but as we know that big, food and beverages companies are, for instance, are having their own, understanding about circular choices, where to invest, where to not, where to put, efforts, where to put their energy. So as an experience with these companies, being the part of Revise, what sort of challenges and opportunities you come across or encountered in convincing these big brands to go for Indian perspective of circularity when it comes to doing operations in South Asia or Indian sort of setups? We'd like to listen about your experience on that.
Sure, Sudhanshu. I think the biggest challenge, I think, that exists everywhere for any kind of business, and especially for any industry that is operating in the sustainability and circular economy industry, is who will pay the price. So there's a cost to everything. And especially when you're creating a new system in itself, the whole reverse logistics chain and the whole recycling process, or even there's a price that is to be paid when there is a behavioral change. So the biggest challenge all the time in any business, anyways, is who will pay the price, and especially in our industry, and everybody who works in this industry will agree to it, that do we pass on that price to the consumer? Does the brand in itself, the may it be multinational or may it be a smaller eco-conscious brand, do they pay the price? Or do we take the cost cut and build a business which is, probably not for profit? So that cost implication that comes with developing these processes, making something right and doing something right, is the biggest challenge. Now, every challenge, when you flip the coin, is also an opportunity. So, how we have seen all these multinationals coming together and figuring out solutions, because, like you said, they have their own standards. They also have their own commitments to, by 2025, some companies want to be, carbon neutral. Some companies by 2030 have taken a goal to be net zero, and so on. And similarly, countries have taken these goals as well. So when we talk about the opportunity, this in itself becomes an opportunity where every department in the company is now, trying to collaborate and figure out solutions to the existing problems. when I talk about just that cost piece as well, so when you use recycled material compared to a virgin material which is produced in bulk uh, today, it is little expensive. So earlier, when we used to go to the procurement managers or the supply chain heads, they have to meet their quarterly numbers, and the bottom line is the most important metrics for them. But after testing, after ensuring that the material is competent enough, we start approaching the sustainability officers, the even the marketing teams, the board members, the CEO, and now we have started seeing that together they collaborate to figure out a solution for them. Even the finance department gets involved, and this is for the first time that is happening in these multinational companies as well. One Everybody used to work in silos and one department never talked to another, but now all the stakeholders are sitting on the table together and trying to solve how do we do the right thing. It could be because they want to really do the right thing, or it could be under all the compliances and regulations that they have to meet. But that change has started happening, and the more we get into challenges, I feel just the adoption process could be very challenging, because at the end of the day you are creating a new category. And like we were discussing earlier as well, whenever you go to another business owner, first of all, understanding their problem and consulting them with a solution about their problem becomes the most important thing. And once they see with that consultation that probably you have a solution to offer, then only anything will go further from there. You can create the best product possible for anybody, but if your customer is not convinced that it is best for me, there's no acceptability, there's no adoptability. So we have to go through that whole process of consultation, demonstration, and then adoption as well, because when you switch a material, it is something very different. There is a learnability curve, there are some operational challenges, and you have to stand by your customer and solve every problem for them throughout the process. So another challenge, and it has been a learning for us as well, that knowing that we are not just creating a product, but we also have to provide the services that are related to it to ensure that it just becomes easy for your customer to adopt that new product that you're bringing, which is better for the environment, which is circular. And a lot of times really figuring out who is your customer's customer. So if I'm working with a big FMCG brand, how should they be communicating to their customers so they get adoption for that product? So it's really thinking that whole landscape, and holistically, how do we solve problems, and you find challenges and opportunities side by side.
This is true. This is true. Integrating the stakeholders matters a lot.
Yeah.
So, rightly said by you. I think there is no actually confusion or any second thought about this. Let us continue this with Julie. And Julie, we normally as an organization we do social innovations, right? And the perspective for the businesses is to create a balance between what the society is wanting, how environmental impact can be balanced, and how we can create value across the value chains. So, since you have a very, very, great amount of almost 2 decades of experience, how the companies you served, especially the Unis Environmental Hub, I'm talking about, how they manage the show in terms of balancing the innovation along with the environmental impact of the interventions, and remain socially positive, and creating value out of the in terms of money, creating value out of the story. So as a social enterprise, how the value chain is being balanced and sustained in your opinion?
Okay, so maybe I would, just preface this also by the fact that, so we were co-founded by Professor Muhammad Yunus, who won the Nobel Prize for the Grameen Bank, and also sort of like considered the father of social business. So the businesses that we're working with, as you mentioned, are already looking at a social element. They're trying to solve a social issue through a sustainable business model. So what we're trying to do is to help them to make sure that that sustainable business model is also circular. So therefore it's inclusive and circular. So they're reinvesting their profits right back into the business to scale their impact. So that would scale both their social impact as well as the environmental impact by having those reduced waste or emission reduction or whatever it may be. So I think the challenge for other entrepreneurs who are also trying to maintain scale and also have that positive environmental and social impact, I think if you're building inclusive circular models, you should innately be scaling a product or solution that benefits society and the environment. So if you put that foundation in with what it is that you're building, scale shouldn't be an issue to achieve those impacts, right? Because imagine the scenario where you have a product, right, and it has zero packaging. I don't know, it's in like a refill system, or you're using recycled materials instead of virgin inputs. It was sourced ethically, ideally locally. You used regenerative agriculture, right, in the process, which is improving the environment. You're supporting decent work and steady income for the community. You're looking at the transportation issues and making sure that there's, they're using like low emission vehicles, or they're sharing the logistics space. Imagine all of this. So you're creating a for-profit business, but if you have it in a model that's inclusive and circular, you shouldn't have an issue in the scaling process. So I think and again, because a lot of people ask me, like, you work in social impact. This is a question that I've had, I don't know, for the last so you're an NGO, right? Or and I am now, we're like part NGO and we're a business as well. But when I was working at SAP, we were doing the entrepreneurship program, and SAP is not an NGO. It also, gives back to society, but you can be for profit. You can have that triple bottom line focus, but it doesn't mean that you can't be for the environment or for society. So I think and this is a whole nother bandstand that I can go on, but I think that there's you either have to be social or you have to be profitable, but you can be both. So I think that that's also, at least in Spain, is a mentality that people need to shift, that you can be positive for the environment and you can have income for your shareholders, and you don't have to be an NGO. You don't have to be a social business, but you should do your parts to, pay fair wages, ensure that you're, bottom of the value chain. If you're working with the informal sector, that they have, as Recircle mentioned earlier, that they have, decent work, they're getting financial literacy, they're having digital literacy, they have EHS training, those types of things. And then you can make progress towards the SDGs, like decent work, responsible consumption. So I think there's a stigma between either social or profitable that we need to kind of break down that barrier so that they are scaling these models that have that holistic impact. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yes. Clearly answered. So balancing is important, and if not balancing, then we should take care of the social aspect at least. So let us continue the discussion with Aditi, and probably it will be the last question. I would like to know about, since being the founder of Go Revise, you have, a lot of, as we are witnessing, a lot of startups are coming up in the area of circularity also, and waste management. So being a new, entrepreneur, I mean, very young by age, what's your advice to the new startups? Those are looking forward for building pro-planet solutions and contributing to the circular economy.
So great question, Sudhanshu. And so I'm one of the founding members for Go Revise. It was founded by one of my friends who has in the recycling space for a very long time. I think I will build upon what Julie said, that we need to create solutions which can be scaled, and we need to think about what is that new benchmark that we are creating for our economies and our societies. My advice to any startup, any entrepreneur, or anybody who is, trying to build a career, I will tell them that there's no nobler cause than really solving for climate change today. There are ample of opportunities. There's more than, like, every conference that I go to, every investor I speak to, everybody is talking about climate change, climate tech, sustainability, circular economy, this is really the space to be. So if you are interested in building, please don't think twice. There is ample funding available, there is ample support available, there is ecosystem that is developing. Do not think twice, just get into this space. And if you are short of ideas, there are ample founders and people who have various problems. I think it's again very circular, and we are doing this full circle because in my first question, I was talking about how this ecosystem is being created, and there's so much opportunity for technology to come in, for solutions to come in. And even recyclers like us are every day I'm looking for solutions because there are 10 problems that I'm solving for, and all those solutions do not exist today. I'm trying to, have better traceability. I'm trying to, do the right kind of storytelling or give the right kind of communication tools to my brands so that they can communicate to their customers. But all these solutions probably are not available. And these are the gaps that we need to, latch onto and build solutions for. So there's really a lot of space to create value, deliver value, and capture value. So lots of business models can be created in this space. It's one of the most promising place to be. So anybody who is a startup founder, good luck to you. You are really going to grow leaps and bounds if you are working in this space. And if you're thinking of building something, the time is now.
That's great. Cool. Thanks, Aditi, for such a insightful experience you shared with them. So we have Guru Ashish, and Guru Ashish being a person who is behind this very successful, intervention called as Recircle. My question is same, but from different perspective. How can other organization can learn out of the experience that Recircle has able to come out with for making a positive environmental and social impact? So please tell our audience, because a lot of recircles of futures are coming up, and they want word of inspiration from you.
I mean, I second everybody here. I second Aditi that there is a lot of opportunity. I mean, for us, I feel that. I mean, I don't think I am big enough for anybody to be giving out advice, but what I feel is that working at grassroots is important. Understanding the problem, being on ground, is I would say maybe one single most important advice. I don't think any social impact businesses can be made sitting in AC cabins. And till the time we really don't, are ready to get our hands messy and dirty and go down there. And again, I mean, from build fast, get your minimum viable product out there in the market as soon as you can, really test it, be ready to fail, and iterate, reiterate, and I think it's just a loop. We keep doing it all the time. So yeah, I think that's just. I mean, gone are the times where we could have like non-agile businesses. I think it's time to be as agile as possible in life, and if you're ready to fail but get up stronger every time, I think this is the space, and there's ample opportunity. We're just talking about plastics right now. There are like multiple verticals, be it textiles, be it e-waste, be it battery, used oil, solar panels. Like, I mean, and no one company, one person can solve it. So, yeah, and I think the industry overall is very, very collaborative. And we're always looking for good, nice people to either, start something of their own or become intrapreneurs in our organizations only. And, do the work. What is important is that, the problem should be solved. And honestly, I mean, as like I always like to say, I've worked to become redundant one day. So I hope that we become redundant and this problem gets solved, and then we work towards another problem. That's about it.
Thanks a lot, Rashish. So my last question to Dr. Kumar. Dr. Kumar, being the editor and reviewer with a lot many of international journals, And our audience are the people who are about to listen the recordings and the live telecast that we have today are the researchers also and aspirant startup aspirants as well. So my initial questions were with Kurashish and the lady, but now the question is more focused upon the research. So, what are the emerging areas and research domains, as per your understanding, which talks about environmental policy, environmental impact, circularity, circular, interventions, and how the developing countries can cope with the challenges? And what do you think that the researcher should focus more on? So, can you give us a very quick list of the research domain areas where the researcher can focus?
Yeah, so Sudhanshu, since you also are academician, so you can connect my answer, because science is a continuous enterprise. It will automatically find some directions, but at the same time, it is also very important for us researchers or scientists or researchers from any background is to understand that what is the current pressing need for the research or pressing need for the community. And the second most important thing, what funding agencies are interested in. This is a harsh reality. No matter what you like or dislike, what funders are interested in, that is very important to understand. So, considering the intersections of air quality and circularity, I think smart waste management is something which can relate both of them, because you all will be surprised to know that one of the very important pollutants, which is also a climate forcer, which is called black carbon aerosols. So after 10 years, India is expected to having black carbon emissions contributed by open waste burning by more than 50%. Currently, the waste sector is definitely, there is a significant contribution from waste burning. But after 10 years, it is expected that whatever black carbon is coming in India, is being emitted in India, will be coming out of due to the open burning of the waste. So smart waste management is something which will not only solve the problem of circularity or waste management, but also will be contributing a lot towards air quality management. Second, you can also connect the things with the role of IT, and especially the artificial intelligence in understanding the data, because we are now having a lot of information from satellites, from different models. So those data sets are very large. To understand those data sets, we need artificial intelligence, we need advanced computing system. So that is also something which will help us to be more and more circular as far as air quality or climate change studies are concerned. Similarly, when we plan for, because at seed we develop clean air action plans for the government, very high resolution plans, city specific plans. And within cities, waste management is a big problem which is contributing towards the air pollution. So hyper local air quality action planning is very important. Currently, what we generally do, we bring some policy or some scheme which is relevant to the entire state, or which is for the entire state. But when you see the geography of Indian states, cities are very big contributors to different air pollutants. When you just go out of the cities, the level of pollutants become lesser. So that is why, for circularity perspective, for air quality perspective, we need to develop frameworks for hyper local clean air action plans. That is something which will be definitely going to be a very big research area in the future, based on measurements. So similarly, again, it is also related to technological intervention, that we need very precise measurement systems. Currently, we are using air quality measurement systems through real time systems, but now we need sensor based systems which can immediately give you results, so that planning can be done immediately. For example, I just give you one example. If we have installed some sensor based instruments instruments at a place where there is a burning of open waste. So that can be directly linked to some kind of information transfer system where the municipal corporation can directly have access to the data set, and then they can simply act as they come to know about the current emission when the emission levels are higher over a particular region within the city. So these type of intervention needs a lot of research. So I would say from circular economy perspective, I would suggest that the researchers, especially people working with the within the domain of circular economy or air quality management, they should emphasize or they should redirect their research interests into these couple of points, what I believe.
So correct. They are very much, futuristic research trends we have discussed, and I've noted down. So the next, I mean, these are the areas, I mean, of future, potentiality, no doubts. So, really thankful to Dr. Kumar for your insights and for domain selection, especially. And today we had a really great discussion with all the panelists, Julie, Dr. Kumar, Ms. Aditi, and Gurashiji. So this session was really a remarkable session, and being the very much power packed session when it comes to content delivery and the experience that you people have shared. It really get value to the knowledge of the audience as well. So before we formally end, I request Surabhi to take care of the word of thanks. Over to you, Surabhi. Thank you.
Thank you, dear speakers. It was indeed a very good session. We were enlightened. We had very experienced entrepreneurs here, Aditi and Gurashish, very well, a researcher here and a social worker as well. I mean, so we had a good, pack of people here, those who could impart their knowledge here to the audience. So I would like to thank Dr. Sudhanshu as well for moderating the session. And thanks to the engaged and wonderful audience. And if you have any queries still remaining, please feel free to reach out to me at surabhi@icce.com and stay connected with us on our social media pages for continuous updates on all forthcoming events. And please subscribe to our newsletter. We have monthly and bi-weekly newsletters. The link will be shared here in the chat box. And thank you once again for the active participation. Thanks, Dr. Manish, Julie, Gurashish, and Aditi for participating in today's webinar. And we are ending this webinar series today, Transforming India's Infrastructure, with 10 episodes getting finished today. So we'll be coming up soon with some other, webinar series. And till then, please follow us on social media handles, and you can find all the previous recordings of these webinars on the given link in the chat box. Have a good evening and a great weekend. Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
for
Thank
being
you,
here
sir.
today.
Goodbye.